On you guys, so today I'm bringing guys a brand new sports cards video. In today's video, I will be showing guys some sports cards that I am stacking up on before the NBA season. As you guys know, in just a week, the NBA will be underway, December 22nd. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity this season, as there always is. There's always a handful of players that have breakout seasons in the NBA every single season. So there's some aspect of predicting which players will have a breakout season. It often is quite easy to predict, such as Giannis was just continuing to improve, and then boom, a big breakout season. So I will be going over pretty much everything you guys should know before the season starts. But before we get into that, I do want to say, as you guys know, I have my sports card investment membership program, and on June 15th, in our weekly report, Kyle Guy was leading our 3 long-term underground NBA investments. So as you guys can see here, our group was buying these up for under $2 for his base prisms. Obviously, I was watching him in the G League and doing a lot of research. As you guys know, I do my research, and as you can see over here, last night, Kyle Guy had a big 20-point game with a game winner, and his cards have currently, gone around, I believe they're around $10 to $15. So we are buying these for under $2. If you guys would like to join in and capitalize the most you can off of our investments and off of the market in general, head to the link down below to sportscardsinvest.com. Use code WINTER2020 to get you 15% off our whole website. We're still running that promo. It will definitely not last forever. But, if you guys would like to join in and make some money with us, make some money off of our research, go ahead, click the link down below. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into this video. So firstly, I will be going over some guys who I believe have a good potential to have a big breakout season. And one of those guys is none other than DeAndre Ayton. This goes back to Chris Paul. Chris Paul is probably the best point guard to feed big men in the league. As you guys know, in LA, around, I believe, 6 years ago, in 2014 is when Chris Paul left LA, maybe 2015. But regardless of that, Chris Paul made Blake Griffin and made DeAndre Jordan look a lot better than they really were. He was incredible at throwing lobs. He was incredible at feeding them in the post, and he has a lot of knowledge to carry with him. I believe that the biggest beneficiary of the Chris Paul trade will be DeAndre Ayton, because DeAndre Ayton is certainly more skilled than DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan was looked to be a superstar when Chris Paul was feeding him the ball. So I think DeAndre Ayton has a good potential to have a big breakout season. As you guys know, Booker and Ayton have both been improving year after year, getting a lot better, and I really think, after their performance in the bubble, DeAndre Ayton was playing incredible in the bubble, so is Devin Booker. I think adding Chris Paul to that team is going to be very killer. I think they have a potential to be an easy top 6 seed in the West, if not even higher. Obviously, Chris Paul is an all-star point guard, one of the most, all-around point guards you can possibly get. I know he is a little bit old, but his locker room presence is definitely going to be very good for all of the young players down in Phoenix. And I believe DeAndre Ayton will have a big season if he can stay healthy. This could be a big year for DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns. So he's definitely some guy I'm really going hard at right now. I'm also looking back to, obviously, so Chris Middleton is a second man to obviously Giannis, and they are a championship contender. So I'm really looking at guys like this, because if we look back to August and when the playoffs and the bubble was at the peak, guys like Chris Middleton, their cards were going crazy. At one point, Chris Middleton had a $400 Prism PSA 10, maybe even higher. So as you guys can see, obviously, as teams get knocked out of the playoffs, a lot of the teams that are still up and running, such as the Bucks, will probably go quite far into the playoffs. Whether they make the finals or not, that's another story. But as, say there are only 8 teams left, 4 on the East, 4 on the West, a lot of people are going to start to look at players like Chris Middleton, because he's the second best player on a top 4 team in the league. So that's, another aspect that I think can really, make you a lot of money. It is a little bit more of a longer hold. Chris Middleton's not going to have a crazy season. He will likely have some big scoring spurts, but people know what he brings to the table. But But at the end of the day, when the playoffs do come around, a lot of hype comes around Giannis and the Bucks. Chris Middleton's cards will likely go up quite a lot. So there are some guys I'm taking at for the playoffs. I think Paul George, personally, he has very undervalued cards in my opinion from last year. He obviously had some mental issues in the bubble. His head wasn't where obviously it should have been. But I think now that everyone's out of the bubble, Paul George could definitely, superstars bounce back from bad times. And I believe, Paul George, obviously he got a huge contract, but I still believe he will have a big comeback season. After everything that happened last season, after all the slander that's been thrown at him over these last few months, I definitely believe Paul George has a chip on his shoulder. And I believe he will come out this season looking a lot better, hopefully. So I just believe for his, very cheap prices, I believe it's a quite good idea to start buying some Paul George right now. Because, some guy of his caliber, as soon as they turn it on, they have a crazy season. Obviously, he has his MVP. When he was third in MVP voting a few years ago, he has the same trainer back with him. I know he mentioned that. And, he just has a chip on his shoulder. The Clippers overall have a chip on their shoulders. Obviously they lost Montrezl Harrell, but I still believe they will be championship contenders this season. Whether they can take down the Lakers or not, that's a different story. But the market right now is reacting very quickly. As players have big games, cards are just flying through the roof. And I don't doubt that during this season, Paul George will have some big nights. Obviously most stars will have big nights, will have big spurts when they're playing very well. And when Paul George does have that spurt where he's, has a 40-point game, has a very good game, I think his cards will definitely get a lot of hype. He's, at the end of the day, regardless of what happened in the NBA bubble, this guy has proved over the past 5 years that he can really play. Ever since his injury in Indiana, a lot of people were questioning that. And I still believe, he has what it takes to become, a top 5 player in the league again. It's just, if his mind's in the right place, if he has the right people around him, he can get there again. And I think that will be a scary time for the league with Kawhi alongside him. So I'm definitely investing quite a lot in Paul George. I'm also looking at guys who are a little bit younger, a little bit more risky, but, smart plays like Jordan Poole. Obviously, Jordan Poole is, he is at the end of the day a bench player. He is someone who has not got much attention in the NBA so far, but I believe he could this season. Last year, every single game he played with Steph Curry, he was playing very well. He was playing a lot better than he was without Steph. And this year with Steph Curry, with Klay Thompson injured, I think Jordan Poole will have a quite big role, whether he ends up starting or not. I think his prices will definitely go up. There's not much to lose when you can buy someone's select courtside for just $7. That's very hard to lose. So I think that's a very good buy. Some other stars that I think could potentially have, sorry about that. But some other stars that I think could potentially have, a big season is De'Aaron Fox. He's been steadily improving, and every time he's on the court, he's playing very well. For him, it's just a matter of staying healthy for a full season. Alongside Marvin Bagley, I think this duo, I think they're very underpriced. If we look at guys like Trae Young, if we look at, other young stars' prices, I believe De'Aaron Fox is very underpriced. And the reason I'm searching up Select is obviously because, Select is on the rise right now. When you're buying Select, you don't really have to worry about population numbers going crazy. It's just more upside in my opinion than buying Prism, because Select has been continuing to catch up to Prism. So that's definitely a very exciting thing as well. I'll probably make a separate video on why I'm, really investing in Select right now. But I think De'Aaron Fox is another guy who will have a big breakout season. I think Ja Morant has a quite big year too for him. He's not too high right now if we compare him to Trae Young. Obviously, I do look to invest in a lot of players in the Eastern Conference instead of West. I know, Ja Morant is on the West, so that makes things a little bit tougher, but I still think he's a very good buy right now. He has a very bright future ahead of him, and I believe he has a big season coming for him. Obviously, we've seen some stuff with Zion. I know I hardly mentioned Zion on my channel, but I did want to take a little bit to, mention him. I definitely think Zion has a quite big season in front of him if he stays healthy, and that's the big question mark with Zion. We all know he can play. He has incredible potential, but, if he can stay healthy, that would really help his prices. Another guy I'm really looking at is James Harden, and just because obviously he requested a trade, if he ends up going to Philadelphia, if he ends up going to Milwaukee, Miami, he wants to go to any team that contends. And if he goes to any team that's contending without him, when, James Harden comes there, they could very well be favorites to win a championship if he ends up in, wherever it is. I don't know, Boston, I really don't know where he's going. Obviously, right now, according to Vegas, Philadelphia is the #1 destination. However, anytime a big star like that gets traded, their prices get a big jump in price. So I definitely think, it could be a good idea to start buying some James Harden. Everyone knows he can have those big 50-point nights. All he has to prove right now is that he can win, and I think he has, a chance to win if he goes to a contender. So that's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. But, there's definitely a lot of stuff like that I'm looking at. A lot of second-year cards, too, of 2012 Prism. There was no Optic in 2012. There was hardly a Select. So if you look to second year, say, Anthony Davis's, when people start to, invest in Anthony Davis again this season, and they can't afford his Prism rookie, who knows? Maybe they'll start going to his second-year cards. So that could really be a good play. As we saw in the bubble, as players had big seasons, as players had big games, their second-year cards really started to shine because people can't afford, a lot of investors cannot afford Anthony Davis's rookie Prism. So that's definitely a very interesting play, I think. Second years are definitely, in the off-season, second years do not do well at all. But during the season, as more people are buying and selling players every single day, second years do a lot better. So that's definitely something I'm looking at right now. But that'll pretty much close out the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, if you guys would like to join our membership program, click the link down below to sportscardsinvest.com. Use code WINTER2020 to get you 15% off at checkout. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'm out. Peace.